Hi, you're listening to Defend Your Time, brought to you by Ontinue. I'm your host, Chris Taylor. This is a podcast where we help you get stronger security, more value, and fewer headaches out of your Microsoft security investments. And today I'm joined by Theus Hossman, Chief Technology Officer at Ontinue. Theus runs the data science team, engineering teams, and he founded a machine learning AI company, Scuba. He's been working in AI since before it was cool, actually long before it was cool. And today we're going to be talking about agentic AI and how agentic AI can be applied to security operations. In fact, this is the first of a multi-part series of episodes on agentic AI applied to security operations. So, Theus, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into this topic of agentic AI.
Like you said, I'm working in AI and machine learning for probably 15 or almost 20 years now, in various different capacities. Recently in Ontinue as leading the engineering team, and especially also our data science and AI team. In all the years that I've been in AI, though, I have to say that I was never so excited about it like now. I think with the developments that we are seeing in generative AI and now very recently in around agentic AI, the potentials are tremendous, especially in our domain in cybersecurity. There are huge benefits that we can unlock with this technology.
What is the issue as you see it, or what is the problem as you see it, where AI can fill a gap?
Yeah, so I think when you look at the challenges that we are facing right now in cybersecurity and SecOps especially, it's actually a combination of different things. We observe for a while and continue to see this as we'll go into the future, an exploding number and complexity of attack surfaces, I would say. It's not enough to just look at the hardware, just look at the endpoints. It's not enough to just look at the network, but we need to look at how users behave, how they collaborate. We need to look at data. We need to look at cloud workloads, apps, containers, serverless workloads. We now also see many companies that want to close blind spots in OT security in their IT and IoT and OT environments. We will see more and more AI security itself coming up. So how do we secure AI models, AI workloads, and so on? So there's an exponential growth in attack surfaces and the complexity thereof. At the same time, cybersecurity is notorious for talent shortage, as probably everybody in the area knows. It is extremely hard to find people. It is almost impossible to really find good, experienced people and retain them and have a team of a certain size of real experienced security experts. So there's a sort of this growing gap. Adding to this, that the attackers are not shy to use AI themselves, right? We see more and more sort of high quality targeted phishing or impersonation attempts enabled by AI. We see reports of how AI is used in reconnaissance. We see how it gets easier to write malware, how in the end, just the attack side can scale up their operations and automate through technology as well. So this is the sort of perfect storm that we have: increasing complexity and attack surface. We have the talent gap. We have increasing efficiency also on the attacker side through AI. And really key to deal with this perfect storm for us is, in the end, AI and automation.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So as time goes on, we're seeing the increase in risk from complexity of attack services, expansion of attack services, new types of threats. All this complexity creates exponential increase in risk and complexity, but the availability of cyber defenders is not increasing anywhere near at the pace. And so you create this gap that organizations are dealing with, and it's creating more risk for them. And so this is where AI can fit and become a force multiplier for the workforce to try to help close that gap on behalf of the good guys.
100%, yes. And in the end, it's really about radically scaling the expertise and the efficiency and the efficacy of the experts, of the human experts that we have.
Okay, so this is helpful. And the title of the episode is Agentic AI Applied to Security Operations. Can you help define for us what is agentic AI? What does that mean?
Yeah, maybe we can start a little bit before agentic AI and look in general about into AI and automation, because in the end this is a complex topic. Agentic systems is one aspect of it, but there's a bit more to it. Traditionally, and the way we often think about this is three pillars, the three pillars of AI and automation. The first pillar is what we call deterministic automation. So that's the traditional type of coded if this then that automation. So that's if we think about incident handling, an incident comes in, we know certain checks have to be done. We know if a check is true, then something else has to be executed, right? So that's the first pillar. That's the deterministic, what we call deterministic automation. The challenge with this is that in cybersecurity we have this kind of long tail behavior. We have a few things which happen very frequently, and we can easily kind of these frequent things with a workflow automation like that. But then we have a long tail of a million of things that can happen, but that happen rarely. The challenge with these typical sort of automation workflow systems is that it just takes too long and it's too and in the end not scalable to maintain so many workflows that you can cover everything pre-coded, right? This is really the problem of the deterministic automation. Now, we can use AI, and we do also to alleviate this a little bit by having AI assistants that can help code workflows and make this whole workflow lifecycle and from creation to the whole maintenance and lifecycle to make this much more efficient. But in the end, we see even out of the Microsoft tools, we see dozens of new alerts, for example, new alert types that come out every week, right? That hit our SOC every week. And it's just not possible. It's just not feasible to keep up with workflow-based automation like that. So that's the first pillar. Now, the second pillar is what I would call AI-assisted work. So that's where we have our human security experts, our defenders, equipped with AI assistants that help them be more efficient. So that's the typical kind of co-pilot setting, right? You have an assistant, you have a tool that helps you be more efficient so that you don't have to go and type a certain query, but you can just ask a question. We also have our INIQ, which assists our defenders for summarizing an incident, for finding similar incidents from the past, and so on and so forth. So that's the second type. That's the AI assisted work. So this again increases efficiency quite drastically, but we still need the human security experts in the driver's seat of asking the right questions to the AI tool, and so on and so forth. And that's where it gets really interesting with the third pillar. That's also the main one that we want to talk about today, which is this agentic approach. So that's a new approach to use state-of-the-art generative AI and AI models in general to really give them more agency. So in the approaches that we've had so far, that they are good for relatively simple situations, for static situations, for simple environments, let's say. They need a lot of supervision, basically by humans. Now, with agentic AI, we can give the AI models much more agency in itself, so that they can use their own kind of planning and reasoning capabilities, that they can adapt to a certain situation which is maybe unforeseen, that they can react dynamically to a situation, that they can have complex goals and autonomously actually work towards this goal and plan how to work towards these goals and adapt their plan as they go. So they can deal with much more complex tasks or complex goals and much more autonomously than what we've seen so far from co-pilots and AI assistants like and others. And that's where it becomes really interesting.
So this is really helpful. And I like the way you've laid it out in terms of the three pillars. So you've got deterministic automation, there's AI assisted, and then there's this next sort of evolution, which is you're calling agentic AI, or is called agentic AI. This is interesting to hear about planning, reasoning, and adapting. What has enabled this jump from AI assisted to the ability of AI to be doing more of this planning and reasoning and adapting as it goes?
It's really on one hand, I would say it's technological advances, right? We see a lot of new AI models coming out that are much stronger in reasoning. We see the creators, the tech companies that create the foundational models talking about their reasoning model, right? You have the GPT-o1, you have DeepSeek R1, and these kind of more models that are trained to to break down a problem in steps and plan and create a plan. So this is a very important factor. There are some other things, which is also just how much we've learned how to build, with what kind of patterns we can build applications like that we've learned, we as an entire industry, that we have learned in the past few years, that we can have patterns of having an agent that comes up with a plan, having another agent that critiques this plan, and then these two work together to create a much better plan, and so on. Or things like tool use, right? That how we give the models access to certain tools to execute and to interact with their environment, and so on and so forth. So it's on one hand the next generation of foundational models, but it's also a set of patterns and techniques that we've come to use, which really enable these new agentic approaches.
Okay, this is really helpful. And then I think my next question is, how are you using this agentic AI approach to strengthen security operations or to close that capacity agency gap in security operations?
So if we think a little bit ahead, there's a whole host of tasks or things that need to be done in a typical SecOps where we can apply agentic patterns to. Now, we've started with the one which is the most obvious, but also the most time consuming for a SOC, which is in the end investigation of incidents, right? An incident comes in, we have an agent which does a first run of the investigation. So it's picked up by the agent, creates a plan, what needs to be done. It gathers all the context, it plans out an investigation. It has the tools to do lookups, to run queries against the environment of our customers, to run through an investigation just like a human would do it in the end, right? It starts with gathering context, out of the context, creating a hypothesis, what could have happened, and then creating a plan and working really through this plan, dynamically also adapting to new insights that come out as the agent runs checks and works through the investigation. As a result of this autonomous investigation, in the end, our cyber defenders, our analysts, when they look at an incident, it's already investigated. It's already pre-investigated. They get a report from this is what happened to these are the checks that have been done to these are the key findings from these checks. And out of this is the assessment. This is a benign positive. This is a true positive, and the recommendation of actions that should be executed. Right. We don't have the agent take any response actions. So this is always in the human control, but the human gets a full report and gets recommendations for actions to take.
Okay, this is interesting. So just to add some context to this, obviously you're the chief technology officer here at Ontinue. Ontinue provides 24/7 managed detection and response services for our customers. It's our internal security operations center. Our cyber advisors, our cyber analyst teams are leveraging this agentic AI capability to drive incidents, investigate through to resolution more quickly. And you made a really good point about humans continuing to keep an active role. It's not that you have created an autonomous SOC, you've created agentic AI that the humans who make up the SOC can use so that the investigative process is automated for them. And it's really just up to them to take the results of that, ensure that it's sound, and they're the ones who take action.
That's very important because AI models make mistakes. We know that they are by nature probabilistic models, and that's it. And it's important that critical decisions are in the end taken and validated by humans. Maybe since we are at the human element of this, what is also very important is that we get the human feedback back into the model. So as our analysts actually consume these reports, they feed back to the model, this was good, this additional check would have been helpful, or this check was completely useless in this context. And we see a lot of this feedback from our cyber defenders, and this helps us really close the loop and making sure that we can train and coach our agent here to get better and better.
This is fascinating stuff. And if you're still with us and listening, so this is Theus Hossman is taking us through the definition of agentic AI and how it can be applied to security operations. Obviously, because this is the first in a several episode series, we'll bring in the perspective of our security operations center to talk about this. But I wonder, Theus, if you could talk a little bit about what this means to a SOC engineer or a cyber defender who might be using this. How does it impact their capacity? I wonder if you have any metrics or if you can just speak qualitatively about what this does to the life of a typical defender.
Yeah, so in the end, it takes away a lot of the sort of tedious part of the investigation that the defender otherwise would have to do over and over for each incident, right? It helps create a report. It helps create a certain consistency also in the investigations, also across different defenders. So it's a lot it's a lot about efficiency, but it's also about consistency and quality that we get into the investigations by having this autonomous investigation as a starting point of what the human can do then and add to and correct and improve on the autonomous investigation. That's our internal perspective. Now from the perspective of our customers, and maybe also bringing it back to where we started with the challenge that we're facing in security, increasing attack surfaces, talent shortage. In the end, this means that for us, we can provide a service where we can reduce the risk for our customers by being fast if something happens, by being able to cover much more attack surfaces that we could otherwise with the limited workforce that's available on the market, basically, right? So to make sure that each investigation has a certain quality and a certain consistency, and that's in the end what our customers appreciate from an outcome perspective here.
Okay, Theus, I have one more question for you. I'm thinking about, I know how to go and ask ChatGPT to summarize something or write something or generate something. What is required to actually deliver this kind of agentic AI capability that you're describing to a security operations use case?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question, because we all see at the moment how easy it is to use these tools, but in order to put an agent like into the context of a SOC, actually it requires a little bit more engineering and more work around it, right? In the end, everything starts with the data, right? A lot of the planning capabilities and these sort of skills that the agent has is built on data that we've collected, or is trained with data that we've collected from the past, right? Past investigations, what was done for a certain investigation. And we have so the first thing we need is the data platform that supports this, which we've built Ontinue a while ago, and which has now tremendous benefits for us to be fast at building these kind of things on top of it. Then there's a whole set of other things. The agent is only as good in the end as the tools it can use. With all the sort of automation effort that we have put in place, even also in deterministic automation that we spoke about earlier, we have dozens. We have, I think, currently more than 70 tools and skills that the agents can access in order to run checks. Is this user MFA enabled? Are there any risky sign-ins? Give me similar incidents. How likely is this incident to be a true positive? All these kind of tools, there are dozens of those, which in the end make the quality of the agent. Another important aspect is, in the end, our analysts want and can't go to an AI, cannot go to an AI tool and just paste information there, sensitive information there, right? We need to deploy all of this, including the model, into our own environment. That means we need to operate and maintain a model, which luckily isn't that complicated with Azure, but that's another sort of engineering effort. We also need to bring the results in the end to the analysts themselves in their work tool, right? So that they can really, in their workflow, they can interact with the agent and consume the outputs from there and give feedback back to the agent in their normal workload. So all of this is what we call an AI native platform that we are building. So it's not just strapped on an AI prompt that can be used, but the whole platform needs to be built in order to support this.
Really fascinating stuff. It gives me hope that you're out here building this kind of capability. It can feel like a dismal fight sometimes in cybersecurity. So really happy to hear about the work that you're doing. One last question I like to ask: when you're not building AI for security operations use cases, what do you like to do in your free time?
In my free time, I have 3 small kids that keep me busy. So there's very
So
little
no free time. Yeah.
no free time.
Yeah.
And
we
it's
can't
fun
use agentic AI to raise children yet.
to automate this. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's relevant. I think
That's true.
hopefully
Yeah.
remain a human quality.
We have to keep the human in that. Thank you so much, Theus. This has been a great discussion. And thanks everyone for listening. As a reminder, this is the first of a multi-episode series we'll do on agentic AI for security operations. Thank you so much for listening. This is Defend Your Time, the podcast where we help you get stronger security, more value, and fewer headaches out of your Microsoft security investments. Thanks again to our guest, Theus Hossman.